Good evening. If I may have everyone's attention one more time. I apologize for having to call the honorees up to the stage.
tell.
Yes.
Good evening. It is my distinct privilege to welcome everyone here with us this evening to the Stevens Institute of Technology Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We'd also like to give a very special welcome to everyone that's joining us virtually on tonight's live stream. Tonight, we come together for the first time in nearly 3 years to enshrine our 31st class into the Athletic Hall of Fame. It is our sincere hope that tonight is a night where we celebrate individual and team accomplishments, rekindle fond memories with teammates, friends, and conjoin the student athletes of our past, present, and future. Please join me in warmly welcoming to the stage our Director of Athletics, Mr. Russell Rogers, as we begin tonight's ceremony.
I always hate coming up and having to speak after Charles. Those of you that have not met him, this is Charles O'Brien. He's our Assistant Director of Athletics for Communications. And doesn't he have the best, most professional voice that you've ever heard? And a round of applause. But this is a great night. As Charles alluded to, it's the first time we've done this since 2019, fall 2019. And it's always one of my most enjoyable evenings of the year because I get to see so many people that come back to campus for this. And we also get to honor some of our current student athletes as well. And you know, nights like this, events like this don't just happen, right? It takes a lot of people working together. And I'm in my 27th year at Stevens, and I think one of the reasons I've been here so long and what I enjoy so much about it is the spirit of collaboration and the sense of teamwork that we have, not just within our student athletes, but within our faculty and staff. And that's really what we did to pull this event together. And I recognize Charles. I'd also like to recognize Dominic Savino, who will serve as our host, conduct our question and answer sessions with our inductees just in a little while. Our Office of Development and Alumni Engagement played a tremendous role in putting this event together. Certainly our dining services, preparing the food, our Office of University Events, a lot of volunteers here helping with registration that greeted you when you came in, and all of you. So it really takes all these different elements to pull a night like this together. So how about a round of applause for all of our staff that have done so well. Really a common theme that I've heard in talking with many of our alumni that have come back tonight is how different things are on our campus now. Even when just some of our most recent graduates were here. And obviously this is the first time we've ever done this program in this beautiful building. It just opened back up in May. It's one of the many elements that we're able to provide now in the student athlete experience to equip them to really be competitive on the field and off. So it starts with facilities, and we've been able to do some great things with our facilities. We've really improved them. We've tried to put our athletes in the best position possible in that sense and giving them really high quality facilities to train in. You know, obviously we're landlocked, but within what we have, we really tried to maximize it. We have tremendous coaches. I could not speak more highly of our coaching staff. We're fortunate in that the university has allowed us to hire a number of full-time coaches that really have our student athletes spend more time with their coaches than probably any other adult mentor on campus. And again, I personally want to thank each and every one of them for all that they do for our athletic program. We have a tremendous support staff. We have our Office of Athletic Communications, our Sports Medicine Office, our Strength and Conditioning Office, just a number of different areas that do all different things. They train the athletes, they make sure they stay healthy, publicize everything that they're doing. All that comes into play. We have a dietitian that works in dining services that's available. We have a tremendous relationship with our Counseling and Psychological Services Office. We have two staff members there that a big part of their job is devoted to working with our student athletes. We just put in last year a fueling station in our sports medicine office. So the athletes, if they're running to practice, and many of you that have gone to Stevens know you don't really have much time to eat around here, right? So we have an area there where they can grab a quick snack to keep them fueled on their way to and from practice or class. We have, we travel in pretty nice buses. We have a contract with Adidas, so we're able to equip them in nice apparel. And again, these are things that we're really proud that we're able to provide and give all the resources we can to our student athletes to help them excel. And what has it brought us? We had our first national champion this year in the sport of wrestling. We won 13 total conference titles in 2021-22, 13. And we finished 10th overall in the country. 10th overall in the country among all Division III schools for athletic excellence. Could not be more proud of that. There's almost 450 Division III schools, and to be 10th, we're very excited. This was the best finish in the state of New Jersey since 2011. You'll meet some of our current student athletes with our wrestling team just in a little while. They'll be honored with a special award, but I think they're a prime example of what we're trying to accomplish here with Stevens Athletics. It's that blend of academics, athletics, community involvement, giving back. All that together is what, the wins are one thing, and that's great, but if we're not doing it in the other areas, it doesn't mean nearly as much. And I can stand up here, and all of you that have a degree from Stevens, or someone, you're close with someone that does, I think you can take a lot of pride in what they're doing and how they're representing your institution. Our Hall of Fame class, they range in years from 1928 to 2011. They didn't have all that we have now. We weren't just there yet. Even with some of our more current athletes, they're probably saying, wow, we didn't have that, we didn't have that. But you know what? They still excelled. They got it done. They were great at what they did, and they blazed a trail for what these our student athletes for today are able to do. Many of the opportunities that we're now able to provide, we couldn't do it without everything that happened prior to them. And so many of you that are here tonight played a role in that. I really enjoy hearing more about the history of our athletic program. And to be able to kind of, again, bring that together, that history with what we're doing currently, it's why I just really enjoy the evening. I'm also pleased to say that we continue to carry momentum. Our All Rise campaign is going on right now. We have over 1,400 donors to that program, have raised over $160,000 so far. Now that's going to go until 9 o'clock tonight. So, usually at these events, I kind of cringe when I see people on their phones because I figure they're bored or they don't want, but if I see somebody on their phone, I figure they may be giving a gift, so I'm not going to say anything. So again, that's open until 9 o'clock tonight, but again, we're so excited about the level of support that we're receiving. Let me just close by saying I really hope you enjoy the evening. I think you're going to enjoy hearing each story from our wrestling team to each inductee. It's a very special group, and I think you'll all recognize that. So great to see so many of you. Enjoy the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. And before we proceed with tonight's official ceremony with the awarding of the President's Cup and the introduction of our president, I would like to go off script for 1 second and just introduce everyone to Dr. Sarah Klein, who's joining us at the Hall of Fame. She's become an integral part of athletics. We're so grateful to have her support with us. So, Dr. Klein, thank you for joining us this evening. It is now my honor and privilege to welcome to the stage the president of Stevens Institute of Technology, Nariman Farvardin.
He does have a nice voice, doesn't he? So, ladies and gentlemen, I am absolutely delighted to be here. As you heard, we've been waiting for this moment for almost 3 years. COVID was a major disruption to our lives, and it gives me a lot of joy that life is slowly but surely is coming back to some sort of a normal. It's not exactly the normal it used to be, but it's a different type of a normal. Remember, just before COVID, the Federal Reserve was trying to increase inflation. They couldn't raise inflation to 2%. Now they're exactly going the opposite end. There was no such thing as a supply chain problem in those days, remember? Now everything that you need, you have to wait a year because of a supply chain issue. In those days, in 2019, early 2020, people like to work. So unemployment was a problem. Today, it seems like employment is a problem, and there are a lot of people who are simply uninterested. Nevertheless, we continue to love our jobs, and we take a lot of joy in bringing the community back together. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us and to welcome you for attending this event. I also want to say that we are joined here with a group of faculty, members of the athletics staff, coaches, a number of alumni, previous recipients of the recognition that we are bestowing upon some athletes tonight, and you all make me so happy that you're around. Russ Rogers was trying to be very subtle when he bragged about the success of the All Rise campaign and the 1,400 donors and the more than 160,000, is that what you said? $160,000 that they've raised. I think the key point there was that the deadline is 9 p.m. tonight. And if you have had the intention of making a contribution to our athletic program, but you haven't had the time to do so, you still have an hour and 10 minutes to go. And he will not be offended if you left the room to use your phones to make your contribution. Am I right, Russ? Very good. So Russ basically stole more than one half of my thunder. I was planning to come here and tell you about the incredible accomplishments that our student athletes, our coaches, and our athletic program at Stevens have had. And I'm not going to repeat everything that Russ said, but I would like to highlight some of the things that I'm personally passionate about, and I brag about, and I keep bugging him about, and things that give me a lot of energy. I care about athletics. I used to be an athlete when I was younger myself, and I'm immensely impressed by our student athletes, not only in what they do on the field, on the court, but how they combine that with an extremely demanding and rigorous academic program that we have at Stevens. I don't think Russ mentioned, but you should all know that our student athletes last year has had a cumulative average GPA of 3.68. This is unbelievable. To respond to the demands from the coaches and from the competitions and all the matches they have to participate in, waking up early in the morning to practice and continuing to be involved with the demands of the athletic programs in the evening, and yet going to the library on time and doing well in the homeworks and in the exams and on the projects is a non-trivial undertaking. My hat's off to these incredible students. But you did hear from Russ what gave me a tremendous amount of pride last year, and that was the phenomenal accomplishment of the athletic program, winning 13 conference championships. I mean, this is really non-trivial. 13. We won more than one half of all possible championships in our conference, and to finish 10th in the entire country among all Division III universities. There are about 450 universities competing in Division III, and for Stevens Institute of Technology, this tiny little university in Hoboken, New Jersey, to come out 10th is something we should all be very proud of. As Russ mentioned, this was the highest finish in school history and the highest by any school in the Mid-Atlantic Conference history. Something to write home about. Some of the accomplishments that I'd like to highlight. Wrestling's Brett Callender went undefeated and won a national championship at 149 pounds. When I saw him like 3 days after the competition, he was already 162 pounds. And he was the first wrestling national champion in Stevens history. Both wrestling and men's volleyball each had top 5 finishes. Women's volleyball, Elizabeth Chu was named Back Freedom Woman of the Year. This is the 3rd straight year that the conference has recognized a Stevens student athlete. Women's soccer reached the NCAA tournament for the 6th straight year, and this is one of the longest streaks in Division III. Stevens hosted NCAA regionals in 4 sports. And our current doctoral student, Gina De La Russo, earned another 2 All-American honors, bringing her career total to 14. I have already told you about the achievements of the students in the classroom with a cumulative GPA. And essentially, the message that I'm sending you is that these students are among the best you can find in any country, either in their athletic activities or in the classroom. I want to take this opportunity to mention that these accomplishments of our students would not have been possible if it wasn't for the phenomenal coaches that we have, if it wasn't for the great organization that we have, and if it was not for the unparalleled leadership, visionary leadership provided by Russ Rogers. So I want to take this opportunity to ask you to join me in thanking Russ for the incredible job he's doing here. Now, if you think finishing in the country 10th in Division III is great, I want to tell you, you ain't seen nothing yet. We have high hopes for the future. We're working hard to constantly do better in everything that we do. And this gives me an extra minute to tell you that this whole university is on the rise. It is not only our athletic program and the competitions that we compete in, but the whole university is literally on fire. There are so many incredible things happening here. I know that for some of you, this is the first time you are in this beautiful new facility that we have created. But it's not only our facilities. The number of undergraduate applications was at an all-time high last year. Graduate applications, all-time high. Undergraduate enrollment, all-time high. Graduate enrollment, all-time high. Research program, all-time high by leaps and bounds. We are becoming a major player in the country in research areas ranging from quantum technologies with applications to quantum computing and quantum communications, to fintech, financial technologies, to robotics and advanced precision, to cancer research and advanced drug discovery systems, to coastal resilience and sustainability, to tremendous amount of exciting work in brain research with applications to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, and many, many more. So this university is a place to watch. It gives me a lot of pride to serve in the position that I serve, so that I can be at service to all of you, to our students, our parents, and our alumni. Thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Charles, the microphone is all yours.
Thank you, President Vervarden. As previously mentioned, the recipient of this year's President's Cup is Stevens Wrestling. If you were to simply evaluate all of the candidates for this year's Cup by their on-the-field accomplishments, wrestling's successes on the mats more than speak for themselves. Without the benefit of competing in Canavan Arena, their home away from the Stevens Wrestling Room, Stevens Wrestling, who was also, by the way, the first varsity team to return to intercollegiate competition following the pandemic, earned 6 dual victories, including 4 straight wins over nationally ranked teams to close out their regular season. Stevens also captured its 7th straight conference championship, its 2nd consecutive Southeast regional title, and sent 3 wrestlers to the NCAA Division III national championships. After Stevens defended its regional title, head coach Joe Favia was recognized by the National Wrestling Coaches Association as the Southeast Region Coach of the Year, and associate head coach Anthony Bonaventura was named the region's Assistant of the Year. At Nationals, as previously mentioned, alumnus Brett Callender became the first national champion in school history to cap an undefeated season and close his historic career on Castle Point. With just 3 wrestlers in the field, Stevens finished 5th out of the 70 competing institutions at Nationals, with Kyle Slendorn and Stephen Major also receiving All-America honors. But Stevens Wrestling is about so much more than what takes place on the mats. The team finished 2nd in the National Wrestling Coaches Association's Scholar All-America team standings with a grade point average of 3.845, and the 2nd placed finish in the team standings was the highest ever finish for the program. Additionally, 9 members of the program were named to the organization's Scholar All-America team. Furthermore, after earning his 4th career academic all-district honor, one of just 2 student athletes to do so in school history, Callender was recognized for the 2nd time as an academic All-American, which is one of the highest individual honors a student athlete can receive. Additionally, Callender was also named Region 4 Male Athlete of the Year by the Division III Commissioners Association. The wrestling program also places an emphasis on giving back to the community. The team participates in annual events run by the Hoboken Grace Community Church and holds leadership positions in Stevens Thon. Stevens wrestlers also participated in the annual Out of the Darkness Walk and served as mentors and coaches for the Edge Wrestling School youth program and the Beat the Streets Clinic series. A round of applause for the winner of this year's President's Cup, Stevens Wrestling. Please welcome to the stage captains and representatives of the program, Michael Dooley, Luke Hurley, Stephen Major, and Jarrett Weir to accept the cup from President Frivarden. And at this time, please also welcome to the stage one of the voices of Stevens Athletics. You've also heard him on ESPN+, Friday Night Football on WMGQ and WCTC Radio, and also as one of the voices of Rutgers Athletics on the Big Ten Network, Dominic Savino, who will serve as tonight's Q&A moderator. Joining Dom at center stage are Luke Hurley and Jarrett Weir to represent Stevens Wrestling. Take it away, Dom.
Happy to, Charles. Guys, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of course. We have heard so many outstanding things about Stevens Wrestling, current Stevens student athletes, but I have to start with the fact that, and I'm going to harp on this again, the fact that Stevens finished as the number 10 institution of the more than 400 in Division III with all of its accomplishments last year, which is remarkable. And of all the teams at Stevens, you guys were the best, winning the President's Cup. What's that mean?
That means a lot to us. We found out in our preseason meeting this year, we had no idea this kind of award was coming to us. Coaches gave it to us kind of in a riddle, actually, and we were just, kind of blown away. Obviously, it's a huge honor. We know the academics are obviously great here, and then, we had a couple other award ceremonies for athletics, and we heard all the accomplishments. So then to be named, the best of them is an outstanding accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It was just great to achieve something with the team, not only on the mat, but also off the mat, because day in and day out, we work hard and we commit to putting our best foot forward in every aspect of our life, not just on the mat, but in the classroom as well. So it's about sacrificing some things in season to prioritize academics and athletics, so it feels good to be recognized.
Yeah, I believe that. Jarrett, I got a two-parter here. Jarrett, you get the first half. On the mat, Stevens finished 5th at NCAA's, won its 7th straight MAC championship or conference championship in the sport of wrestling. What is it like on the mat that Stevens Wrestling has been able to succeed across so many generations of wrestlers now? 7 years in a row, that's tough to do in a college sport.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it's due to our coaches. Both of them have been here, since we started that streak now. And I would say the other main thing, you could see it on all of our gear. One more. That's our motto, our saying, and that's just what we live by, and I would say how we're able to keep doing it. So one more next year, or this coming year.
Oh, then, Luke, my question for you is, off the mat, in the classroom, it was a 3.845 as a team. That's not too shabby. Even if you're a regular student, plus you add in the 20-plus hours a week, whatever it is, competing each week, committing to wrestling. How do you get it done in the classroom? How do you get all of this done that you can compete on the mat and do well in school too?
I think the main thing is simply discipline. It's going into every day, knowing exactly what it is that you want to get done and putting the actions forward to accomplish that. You need to be disciplined in the classroom, and then that also translates to the mat and a winning formula.
So Stevens Wrestling has won 7 straight conference championships, and we always talk about what's next. We're, a month or so away from the start of a new wrestling season, which I'm sure is exciting for all of you. I want to hear what's next for Stevens Wrestling. What's this year looking like on the mat?
I think we're looking good. I mean, we obviously lost Brett, but I think all of us are chomping at the bit to replace him. And not replace him per se, but, accomplish what he did. He, showed us it can be done academically and, win a national title. So we all just want to follow.
Last thought?
Yeah, I mean, we want to have 10 individual national champions and also take home the team title as well. And along with that, have a 4.0 GPA. So we have high standards, but we can do it.
Stevens Wrestling apparently has high standards. It's certainly true. Let's hear it for Jarrett Weir and Luke Hurley, members of our Stevens Wrestling team.
We have one more final round of applause for Stevens Wrestling and their outstanding 21-22 athletic and academic season. And now on to the Stevens Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2022. As Russ alluded to in his remarks, our first inductee this evening is a member of the class of 1928, Thorpe Ashoff. Thorpe was a two-sport athlete during his time at Stevens, lettering in both baseball and basketball. A catcher on the baseball team, Thorpe totaled 8 varsity letters during his time at Stevens, and then went on to play professionally in the Metropolitan Basketball League and continued to play competitive basketball well into his 30s, one of just a handful of Ducks that have ever made the jump into professional sports. Legend has it, Thorpe was actually the first Stevens basketball player that was allowed to shoot one-handed. Thorpe spent 30 years as an engineer at Con Edison, a stretch that was unfortunately interrupted by World War II. Thorpe served in the United States Navy as a full commander and would go on to become a flight instructor. After the war, Thorpe remained in the New York City area until he retired and moved to Florida, where he remained until his passing in 1995. Thorpe is the third alumnus to enter the Athletic Hall of Fame who participated in intercollegiate athletics during the 1920s or earlier. A round of applause, please, for Thorpe Ashoff, class of 1928. Unfortunately, Thorpe's family is unable to attend with us in person this evening. Accepting his award on behalf of the Ashoff family is Director of Athletics Russ Rogers, and I will now share a few remarks on behalf of his family. Our family could not be happier to see Thorpe inducted into the Stevens Athletic Hall of Fame. We had a member of our family at Stevens in every decade from the 1920s to the 1950s. Thorpe was always fond of his time at Stevens, and his time as a Duck helped prepare him for life after college. Because of his athletic ability, which was certainly further developed at Stevens, Thorpe survived the sinking of the SS Maurer Castle in 1934, spending more than 7 hours in the ocean without a life preserver off the coast of Long Beach Island after giving up his preserver to save someone else. We would like to thank the committee for this honor, and we also thank each of them for continuing to recognize the athletic accomplishments of the early classes of Stevens Athletics. We congratulate the other inductees and hope that everyone enjoys the remainder of tonight's festivities. Another round of applause, please, for Thorpe Ashoff, class of 1928. Our next inductee is David Decker, class of 2010. David was one of the top goalkeepers in men's lacrosse program history, a program that dates back to the late 1800s. David collected multiple individual accolades during his time on Castle Point and piloted the Ducks to an ECAC Metro South title in 2009. David made 503 saves over 45 career games to rank 9th on the program's all-time saves list. Statistically, Decker's best season in the cage came in 2008, where he made 185 saves across 17 games to rank 6th in Division III in save percentage and 7th in goals against average, numbers that still stand 2nd and 1st respectively in program history. For his efforts, Decker was named a second-team United States Intercollegiate Lacrosse Association All-American in 2009 and also received an honorable mention from the same organization in both 2008 and 2010. A two-time Empire 8 Conference Goalie of the Year and a two-time first-team All-E8 selection, David's accolades were the first for the Ducks in their new conference after the entire athletic department joined the Empire 8 in the summer of 2007. David was also a USILA Scholar All-American in 2010 and was also selected to represent Stevens in the organization's North-South Senior All-Star Game that same year. Please welcome to the stage Hall of Famer David Decker, lacrosse, class of 2010.
Hey, how are you? Congrats. Thank you, sir. Yeah, grab a mic right there. How are you?
Doing great.
What is that like?
It's an honor. It's great. I'll be honest, it's a bit hard to follow a World War II hero who is also a professional athlete.
Right.
And I made a couple saves here and there, but it's an honor. I appreciate it.
It's funny, we got a chance to chat before tonight's ceremony, and you were as humble as could be about the fact that you, for 3 seasons at Stevens, stood inside the cage while people hurled solid rubber balls at you and made more than 400 saves. How do you do that? How do you be a lacrosse goalkeeper, especially at that high level?
Well, it's just love for the game and wanting to play. That's really what it's all about, and showing up and wanting it. That's really it.
That simple.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, too, because we talked about your path to Stevens, and Stevens was not the place you started at your college career, but it was certainly the place where you flourished as a lacrosse player. Tell me about the transition coming to Stevens, and I want to know specifically about what it was like to earn the starting job at Stevens and be the goalkeeper and start that college path.
Stevens granted me a great opportunity to come in. I had a big opportunity playing D1, and it didn't go my way there. I had an injury, and Stevens opened their arms to me, and the community's been great, and they allowed me to flourish.
You were an All-American in 2009, a two-time conference goalkeeper of the year. What do you remember about your time at Stevens on the field?
Well, when I'm playing, I don't remember anything afterwards. You black out. When
Just
you're
a rush?
goalie. Yeah, a goalie, I mean, it's not fair. It's a rush. There's nothing like playing lacrosse goalie. It's a rush.
I believe that.
No, but in all seriousness, you remember all the times you got scored on. You don't remember the saves.
That's fair. That's fair. Your last year as a senior, you played under the current Stevens men's lacrosse head coach, Gene Peluso.
Yep.
And I know you learned a lot from him as somebody who is the lacrosse lifer yourself. What was that first year like, being a part of the teams with him?
Well, Coach Peluso came in, and he had experience at RIT. He's a great man. He's a great coach. And right off the bat, he came in, and you could tell he fit the program because he came in. There's existing upperclassmen, and I remember, I'll never forget this the rest of my life. He told us, anybody can be a great player, but only the greatest can make the people around them even better. And I'll never forget that, and I'll always be grateful for Coach Peluso. And he embodies Stevens. I mean, that's what Stevens is all about. That I owe a lot to Stevens, and that's where I met my beautiful wife, and now we have a family, and I owe everything to coming here to Stevens. It's nice.
That's awesome. I want to close with something you told me. It was a thought about perseverance. You had mentioned the fact that you battled through injury to become the great college goalkeeper that you were. You don't become an All-American just rolling out of bed every day, one day and saying, I'm going to play lacrosse. Tell everybody else the quote about perseverance and how you were able to accomplish that.
Well, I mean, I don't remember what I told you. I was at the shop right when we were talking on the phone.
It's okay.
But anyway,
I mean, thought about the fact that.
I'll be honest with you. But so perseverance to me is, at the time, you're always going to hear the people that the critics and stuff, and you're always going to hear that, but you never really pay attention to all the people around you lifting you up, and you don't realize till years later. I had a lot of great people. My father, he was my biggest fan, and there's family that always supported me, and you never realize that, but all these great people, they always had amazing people that loved them behind them the whole time.
I like that. It's a good way to end it. David, congrats on the induction, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Tom.
One more hand.
Our next inductee is Brittany Jones. A member of the class of 2010, Brittany was a two-sport athlete here at Stevens, spending her first 3 years in Hoboken strictly on the basketball court. In the fall of 2009, however, she opted to play volleyball before completing her final season on the hardwood later that winter. On the basketball court, Brittany, who wore number 45 for the Ducks, a tradition that dated back to her high school days, amassed 1,373 career points across 116 games, which ranks fourth in program history. She also pulled down 719 rebounds and blocked 116 shots, both of which continue to rank among the program's all-time leaders. But perhaps Brittany's best attribute was her ability to knock down shots from behind the arc, totaling 213 three-point baskets over her career, which is the most by any player in women's basketball program history. Good form, good form. So is the rumor that I heard Brittany's giving basketball lessons to everyone here tomorrow, is that not true, or? On the volleyball court, Brittany set down 243 kills across 36 matches and totaled 108 blocks, helping the Ducks reach the NCAA tournament. Across her career, Brittany earned 2 honorable mention all-conference nods before earning first-team recognition from the Empire 8 Conference in 2010. She was named second-team All-Met in her final season on Castle Point, just the 3rd player in program history to ever earn that prestigious distinction. Please welcome to the stage Hall of Famer Brittany Jones, basketball and volleyball, class of 2010.
I think I'm going to end up asking everybody this question. How does that feel, seeing that plaque?
It feels incredible. Definitely not something I was expecting. So just happy to be here and be recognized.
Well, it's nice because, we heard Charles talk a little bit about your experience. 4 years of college basketball, becoming the program's most prolific three-point shooter ever. A year of volleyball at the end of it, just cause, right? And having a great season, too.
Why not?
Right, exactly. Why not? A math major, a college student, and all that entails. How did you do it? How did you fit it into 4 years?
It's funny that you asked that because when I found out I was being inducted, I really had a time to think back about this and think about that. Yeah, it actually was pretty difficult, but in the moment, it didn't feel that way. I was really fortunate to be able to play and contribute to both teams, and I just felt lucky. I had really, really supportive coaches that really were accommodating and made this happen for me, and I also had really supportive teammates. I have my basketball team, they could have been resentful for the fact that I was taking some of my time and energy and focus away from them and from the basketball team, but instead they were my biggest fans. They were at every game and cheering the loudest, as you can see.
I saw the swish back there, too.
But yeah, it was a lot. I mean, playing 2 sports that we had an overlap for 1 month of the season, the end of volleyball season and the beginning of basketball season overlap. So there were days that I had 4, 5, 6 hours of practice on the same day. And luckily, because we practice and play on the same court, they usually didn't overlap. So that was actually a little tiring because I might just go 6 hours straight, but it meant that I could be there for both, and that was really important to me.
What motivated you, I should say, to do all of that, to want to take on 6 hours of practice a day in 2 sports, and you're shooting the ball up and you're trying to slam the ball down in another sport? Not exactly the same.
I've always loved volleyball. Basketball was always my first love, but I saw an opportunity. We had the volleyball team had a couple of girls graduating that started at my position, and I thought that I could come in and help a team and get a chance to play, and it did work out that way. So just figured, why not?
I have to ask you, too, of course, about the basketball, because not only did you have a lot of success in your time at Stevens, but the team itself did, too. Your junior year, you led the team to its first ever NCAA tournament appearance, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. What was that era of Stevens women's basketball like?
It was a lot of fun. It didn't really feel like we were building a program. We were just going out there and playing the game that we love. When I came in as a freshman, we were a little undersized, so I was playing out of position, playing in the paint, and we had an amazing scorer, Dora Enray, who's also in the Hall of Fame. She was playing as a center, so we were a little undersized, but we fought and we had a great season. And then the next year we had such great recruiting from our head coach, and he brought in a bunch of centers and forwards, and we were able to shift into our natural positions, and everything kind of started clicking after that. We had a lot of success. My sophomore year was the first year that we won ECACs, which was really big for us, and then the next year getting to the tournament, we were just excited to be there. And then we won the first game, and that was even better. So I think that it's really exciting to have been able to be part of that, where we built the program. Now it's just expected to make it to the NCAA tournament. It was just exciting, and we were just happy to be there, like I said, but now that's where we want to be every year. So it just was an exciting time to be playing.
And you were able to lead Stevens there by knocking down a ton of threes, more than 200 total. When I think about three-point shooting, I think of Steph Curry and Diana Taurasi. Were you Steph before Steph was Steph? Were you Diana before she was?
No, I don't think so. I think one thing, I mean, when I was in high school, I wasn't really a three-point shooter. My team needed me in the paint, and it was more of a mid-range shooter. But in college, I guess the team had a different need, and I was able to expand out to the three-point line and really just develop my game there. And but honestly, I'm definitely no Steph Curry. He creates a lot of his own shots. I attribute my success really to my teammates. They really put me in positions to succeed. I had Danny Dudek, who's back there. She's a fellow Hall of Famer and Stevens basketball legend, and she was passing me the ball. I mean, all my teammates, they were driving, drawing the defense and kicking it, and I just had to make the shot. That was the easy part. They did the hard part.
Well, you helped build a legacy in two different sports, and it's certainly a very, very deserved plaque. Brittany, thanks for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Tonight's next honoree, an inductee into the Athletic Hall of Fame, is Ron Maurer, class of 1987. Ron spent 3 years with the men's lacrosse program and totaled 498 career saves, a number that still ranks 9th in program history. You know, it sure sounds like men's lacrosse program turns out good goalies, doesn't it? Ron's save percentage of .652 in 1984 and .651 in 1985 still rank among the top single-season performances in program history. A first-team All-Knickerbocker Conference selection in 1985, Ron concluded his career on Castle Point by winning the John Sim Award for the senior who contributed most to the game of lacrosse during their 4 years at Stevens. Additionally, Maurer was the recipient of the 1987 Gear and Triangle Award as the best athlete of his graduating class. Perhaps Ron's greatest contribution to the lacrosse program, however, will never be displayed on a stat sheet or in a game story. Ron served as a mentor for his teammates in the defensive half of the field, helping them, many of which had never played lacrosse, let alone on the defensive half of the field, adjust to the sport at the collegiate level. Sadly, Ron lost his fight with ALS in 2015, fighting valiantly and with tremendous courage and grace. A round of applause for Hall of Famer Ron Maurer, lacrosse, class of 1987. Accepting on behalf of Ron is his close friend and former teammate, Hall of Famer George Serafin, along with Ron's widow, Wendy, and their son, Ian. Coming onto the stage to speak on behalf of Ron Whitdom is his former teammate, close friend, and Hall of Famer class of 2019, George Serafin.
How you doing?
Doing great. So excited to be here.
You know, we got to chat just before the event started, and I can see how happy you are tonight to honor Ron. Why? Tell me the emotions and the feelings.
Well, it's one, you have Wendy and Ian are here. Their beautiful daughter Lauren unfortunately couldn't make it. It's a pharmacy school, but there's family and friends here. And to have a moment to celebrate Ron for all the things, and thank you for the things you said about Ron. It's more than just a stat sheet of the impact that he had to this school, the impact that he had to the program, and the impact that he had to all of the teammates, including me.
You were actually the person who nominated Ron to be inducted to the Stevens Athletic Hall of Fame. Why? Why'd you sign your buddy up for the Hall of Fame?
It was well deserved. I mean, it's just, and again, having Decker here, an amazing career, having two goalies, receiving the Hall of Fame award is amazing, right? In its own right, because you just sometimes are the unsung heroes. And Pat Drennan's also in the office, in the audience, the Hall of Famer. And the thing about Ron was it wasn't just about the stats. That stats are really important in longevity, but the biggest thing I could tell you that Ron did for us, he made us play bigger in every game, and that's what I wanted to get across in a nomination for him. And when you win a John Sim Award for being committing the most to lacrosse, it wasn't about just the game. Ron was the first person on the field. Ron was the last person off the field. If the young people, as you were saying, a lot of folks, you got to remember, this is the 70s, 80s, the program, we had a lot of young students that never played lacrosse before. We had a lot of great athletes, like Pat Drennan never put a stick in his hand, and yet became an amazing lacrosse player. Christy Girolamo Joe brothers, Chris and others. But Ron was so patient. He's like, oh, hey, you want to take shots on me? I'll say afterwards, let's take shots. You want to learn defensive positioning? Right from freshman year. So here you have a kid, 18 years old, going over and coaching up guys that are 20, 21 years old and saying, where do I stand? Where do I put my stick? What do I do? How do I cut across? So Ron was incredibly patient in mentoring. I was very blessed to have Bruce Boylan, another Hall of Famer. Bruce couldn't be here tonight, but I was very blessed to have Bruce Boylan as an offensive coach to work with myself and Pat D'Esposito and Frank Lynch and John Potter. Coach Rotunda was an amazing coach, but again, you got to coach everything. Defense really didn't have anybody. So it was really Ron. We had a great experienced defenseman, Richie Mazzola, who played early on, but a lot of folks never played. So Ron immediately had to step up into a leadership role, kind of really mentor everybody. And he did that for 4 years, just on and off the field. Last person on, first person on, last person off. That's why you got the John Sim Award. That's why you got the Gear and Triangle Award, because again, he made us play bigger. I may have scored a ton of goals senior year, but Ron's the one who kept us in the games.
Give me an on-field memory about Ron, whether it's a big save or when you're like, all right, I can press a little further forward knowing that he can handle a 2-on-0 back there.
So I had to think about this, not because I had to think of one, there were just too many, but the one I wanted to bring up to everybody to paint this picture was 1985, I think it was March. Pat Drennan will remember this vividly because it was a triple overtime win against Kane in Hoboken, and Pat actually scored the winning goal in triple overtime.
There you go.
But the thing was with Ron was he had like 25 saves that game. And we're winning. It was 9-8, so it wasn't a big score. It was 9-8. But we were winning, and then the thing that's not in the book or whatever, 3 of the goals that Kane scored were on rebounds off of saves Ron made. So Ron makes the save, and whatever, it's a kick save or whatever, and you were talking about goalies before, picture this, again, padding and everything. The game was way different back then. Every single game, you look at Ron afterwards, he had welts. He had real circular welts across his whole body, head to toe. And you want to say, like, you talk about perseverance and why you do it. I think you got to be a little bit crazy to be a goalie as well.
So.
His son Ian knows what I'm talking about. But in that game, I mean, Ron was just tremendous. We kept going. We're winning, and it's back and forth, back and forth. We go to 3 overtimes, and he just came up big. It's just we knew he was in the cage. We knew he was like, no, we're going to win this game. We just knew it. That if we went 2, 3 overtimes, we were going to win that game. And we knew we had Ron keeping us strong.
We've heard about Ron on and off the field, but I just want to close with a last thought. As we've talked about, Stevens men's lacrosse has been around for a long time, since the 1800s, the longest men's lacrosse program that has had consecutive seasons in the country, in fact. What does it mean, or what does it say about Ron that he still ranks among the program's best goalkeepers ever in a program that has been around for so long?
Yeah, I mean, how tremendous is that? I mean, we were fortunate that our freshman year, 84, was the 100th year So there's a lot of pomp and circumstance that, to be part of that program and that legacy and how it's carried forward. And certainly I want to recognize Russ with the amazing athletic program, not just men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, all the programs. Gene Peluso, I know I met him earlier, I don't know if he's still here. Gene's done an amazing job with the lacrosse program. To be part of that tradition, I think is tremendous. And have someone like Ron, who is a part of that for over 136 years, to have someone play at that level and contribute doing a short period of time and be recognized by this committee and also by this program, I think is just an incredible honor.
George, we appreciate you coming up here and saying a couple of words about your good friend Ron. It's good to hear about how he was on the field, because we know he was a top goalkeeper. So thanks for being here.
And I would say one more thing is just, as we were saying, we lost Ron too early, but I would end with this. And I say it's celebration because I know it's hard. It's very, very hard. But with Ron, the quiet strength that he committed on the field, off the field, his love of lacrosse, he coached, and that's what you do with lacrosse, right? You love lacrosse. After you finish college, you coach. That's what you do, you give back. And Ron gave back to his community, gave back to the programs in lacrosse all those years. And the quiet strength that he had demonstrated all through that, is what he did, through the life. And it's something, fortunately, we lost him way too early, but at the same time, this is just a proud moment for me and for the family and friends to celebrate the tremendous impact that he's had on all of us. Yeah. So thank you.
Of course, our pleasure.
Again, we would also like to acknowledge Ron's wife, Wendy, their son, Ian, for joining us here this evening. And one final round of applause for Ron Maurer, please. Our next inductee is Ellen Griggs, class of 2011. Ellen was a 3-year starting goalie for the field hockey program who piloted the Ducks to great heights in the formative years of the program. With Ellen in the cage, the Ducks earned multiple program firsts, including securing its first conference victory, winning its first conference championship, and finally, winning the program's first NCAA game. The Ducks would go on to capture 3 straight Empire 8 conference championships from 2008 through 2010 and won a pair of NCAA games during the same period, which is especially noteworthy considering that the program was just in its 5th year when the stretch began. Ellen finished her career with 247 saves over 63 games. In each of her starting seasons, Ellen ranked inside the top 20 goalies in Division III in goals against average, including a remarkable number of 0.81 in 2008 that ranked 4th, and a mark of 0.84 in 2009 that ranked 3rd in the NCAA. Among her individual accolades, Ellen still ranks among the program leaders in goals against average, shutouts, and victories. In fact, she's the only goalie in program history with a career goals against average of under 1. The Hillsborough, New Jersey native was a first-team all-region selection by the National Field Hockey Coaches Association in 2009 and was also a 2-time All-Empire 8 selection. She was a 4-time NFHCA All-Academic Squad honoree and represented Stevens Field Hockey in the NFHCA's annual North-South Senior All-Star Game. Just for good measure, she also competed on the track team and earned ECAC accolades. Please welcome to the stage Hall of Famer Ellen Griggs, Field Hockey, class of 2011.
Yeah, likewise. Congrats. Welcome up to the stage. How are you?
A little bit nervous.
Don't be. Well, again, congratulations on a wonderful honor being inducted to the Hall of Fame at your alma mater. But we have to start with the way you started at Stevens, which, from what I understand, was not a Hall of Fame start at the university. Tell me about that, how you ended up at Stevens.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't open up my speech acknowledging my twin sister, Lauren, who's in the crowd, because in fact I was not recruited to Stevens. I only came along, tagging along with my sister, who was actually recruited by Jess Reed, the coach. And in fact, when Lauren got the email from Jess saying that she saw her at a tournament, she wanted her to come to Stevens and learn more about the campus, before Lauren even got a chance to email Coach back, I emailed the coach and said, I know you're not looking for a goalie, and you emailed my sister, but you know, we're a 2-for-1 deal, so would you mind if I tagged along to the program as well?
And she was on board, it sounds like.
Yeah, so, and Lauren even got freshman rookie of the year, so I'd like to think that we made a good 2-1 punch.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's fair. You came into a program, though, that was only in its 4th season. I mean, Stevens Field Hockey is among the youngest programs at the university. What was the program like at that time?
It was really exciting because you had such great leadership from the coaching staff all the way to the upperclassmen. And it was really exciting to be part of something that wasn't as well established as a program like lacrosse or other programs in the university. So when we brought in, we were all trying to do something that was bigger than us. And I remember stories from the upperclassmen hearing about, as coach was trying to recruit talent, trying to celebrate those little victories. So when they first started, the victory was, well, let's get the ball over the 50-yard line. And by the time I graduated, we were 3-time conference champions. It's just truly remarkable to look back and even think what the program's done since I've graduated. That, you know, to be part of something that's bigger than yourself and really just continue to reflect on the success of the program.
Yeah, you sort of touched on the way that the qualifier of wins transitioned over your 4 years, from getting the ball across the 50 to hoisting the conference trophy 3 straight years, also going to the program's first ever 3 straight NCAA tournament appearances. What was it like building the program to what it became and what it's become now, because it's not the last 3 NCAA tournament appearances?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, and I think Coach was excited to bring in people that not just had the caliber on the field, but also wanted to bring in the right type of people and talent. So I think that we were really fortunate that we had such great success on the field, but we were all friends, and we all really had that camaraderie that it made it fun while we were doing it. And that's what I reflect on most, that when we were chatting, you were asking, you know, what's a game that you remember? And I don't remember much at all. I remember practices, I remember bus trips, I remember overnights, but I can't really think of many things that happened on the field, because that's just, to me, that's not as important as how we got there.
Well, I do know that on the field, you were part of a great lineage of really tough goalkeepers and defenders to play against. The goalkeeper before you was the first ever All-American in the program's history. They were all conference defenders who played in front of you. How miserable was it to try to score against Stevens Field Hockey at that time?
We take a lot of pride in that, and I certainly think that it's very well done that Liz, who's here, shares the picture on the frame here with me. It was, in addition to just the program growing, it was really exciting for me and for Steph, who was the first All-American, to want to be better for myself and be better for the team. And I think you'd hear it from any goalie in any program. It's not just about this making the save, it's also how you do it, in terms of how you orchestrate the defense, how you communicate with your team. And I was really lucky that Steph was such a great goalkeeper and was a real role model to me her junior year when she got All-American. I had great coaching staff with Jess and Val and Maris. And yeah, it was certainly miserable for other teams. And certainly, I think we all worked really hard. And I certainly wouldn't be up here if it wasn't for the entire defense. Because, you know, if you were to add in all of the defensive saves, or really the the team, that they had my back after making the save, right? Those rebounds that was mentioned in the last speech. There's no way I would be up here if it wasn't for them.
Well, we know that your era was the launching off point for Stevens Field Hockey as a program. It's great to have you up here. Congrats on the honor.
Thank you so much.
And Ellen, before you completely walk off the stage, I have to say, your young son might be the happiest person to be here, so he's fantastic. Certainly hope so. One final round of applause for Ellen. Our next inductee is Melanie Volk, class of 2009. Volk helped steer the Ducks into 4 straight NCAA appearances, and the Thompson Station, Tennessee native won a pair of conference titles in both the Skyline Conference and the Empire 8 Conference, and the Ducks' 5-set victory over Vassar on November 10, 2005, was the first NCAA win for both Stevens and the Skyline Conference. A 3-time all-conference selection, Melanie finished her career with 1,493 kills and 202 blocks across 151 matches. She ranks inside the program's top 5 in both career kills and total points, while also ranking among the program's all-time leaders in aces and digs. An honorable mention, American Volleyball Coaches Association All-American in 2008, after winning the Empire 8 Conference Player of the Year award, Melanie is one of just 6 players in program history to win both the Rookie of the Year award and Player of the Year award at the conference level. In the words of her former coach, J.J. O'Connell, Melanie made an immediate impact with our program and was a great all-around player, as evidenced by her reaching both the 1,000 kill and the 1,000 dig plateaus during her time on Castle Point. Melanie had such a great volleyball IQ, put in the work during the off-season, and was an exceptional leader as a captain. In her 4 years, Stevens never lost a conference match, not during the regular season, not during the playoffs, going 40-0 in those matches, and a ridiculous 120-4 in individual sets in conference action. I'm thrilled for her very deserving inclusion in the Stevens Athletic Hall of Fame. Please welcome to the stage Hall of Famer Melanie Volk, class of 2009.
Congrats. Yeah, likewise. So, what do you think?
Do I keep it up?
You do whatever you want.
No, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm filled with so much joy to be honored. Stevens is an amazing place, as we've heard from everyone tonight. This is really a very high caliber institution, and I'm thrilled to be recognized amongst all of my former teammates and all of the other Hall of Fame athletes that are here.
Well, I know this weekend takes on sort of an added dimension for you as somebody, and Charles mentioned this, somebody who was born in Tennessee and raised there and now lives in Texas, getting to come back to Hoboken for the first time in a while. What's it like?
Yes, so I haven't been to Hoboken for 9 years, so this is really fun to come back. They turned my freshman dorm into this beautiful building.
Surprise.
And I did not know that. So yeah, it's been a really good time. I've come back with my parents. I'm getting to see some good friends that I haven't seen in a while, and it's just a really nostalgic weekend.
That's awesome. Well, your first arrival at Stevens back in 2005 when you started as a freshman, you were not the only freshman on the team. You were one of 9 freshmen. What was that all like, coming in with a big group of newcomers? Because 9 freshmen for a volleyball team, that's a lot.
Yes, it's I think half the team, if not more than half of the team, was brand new, and we came from all over the country, and it was a lot of fun. I think we overwhelmed some of the Other people on the team had been there for a few years, and we had some really strong leaders that were already here and on the team that really corralled the entire team together into one. But it was just a really great experience to come in with that many new instant friends.
Well, it's remarkable because you came in as freshmen who did not play a college set before, and by 2006, your sophomore year, you had led Stevens women's volleyball to its first ever NCAA regional championship and advancing to the Sweet 16. What was that turnaround, or what was that rise to success like?
It was an adventure and a journey, and it certainly was a quick improvement and change from like our first few matches of a brand new team, really figuring out the court and figuring out each other. But I think we very quickly molded together and really turned it into a really strong program.
You know, each of your first 3 seasons at Stevens, the program set and then reset the record for wins. You won the last, yeah, pretty remarkable, right? You won the last conference championship for Stevens in the old conference, the Skyline, and then you moved to the Empire 8 and won the conference championship your first year there. Could you feel it all building into what it became?
Oh, yes. It was definitely a lot of fun, and it's super motivating. I mean, the better the team does, the more excited everyone is, and then the better you all do together. And so it really was just an amazing team to be a part of.
Was there anything that you saw on the court where it was like, all right, we're really starting to rock and roll right now?
I don't know, as similar to what other people have said, the on-the-court memories, I was really just into it at the time, and it's not necessarily there anymore. But I think there was definitely just huge growth from a bunch of 18-year-olds showing up to a new college campus to really becoming college athletes. Like, there's certainly a transition there into like, no, this is the team, this is what we're doing.
And I know that along with the rise of the program, the amount of people who turned up at Canavan Arena for those games rose too. Tell me what you remember about that.
Yes, so I remember some of those freshman games. The stands weren't too crowded. There were our parents, a handful of friends. And then I do vividly remember the regional championship my sophomore year was at Canavan Arena. We played against Washington and Lee. It was a fabulous game, and it was absolutely packed. There were people there before the game started cheering us on during warm-ups. They had signs, painted themselves with letters. Like, it was that experience that every athlete dreams of.
Well, I can tell you that even still today, they turn up like crazy at Canavan Arena. Congratulations on building that, and congrats on the honor.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Before tonight's final induction, I would like to acknowledge tonight's photographer, Mr. Michael McLaughlin. And to his right is one of my colleagues in our communications staff, Kelly Shea, who's been taking some video of the evening as well. So we'd like to acknowledge and thank her for her part as well. Michael will remain following the conclusion of tonight's ceremony to take some individual pictures if people want to take pictures with their old teammates, friends, and family. So Michael will remain in the area in front of the backdrop for you to do so. So just wanted to point that out so that everybody who wants to take extra photos. I believe the wrestling team has another photo or two to take with the cup and things like that too. So you're more than welcome to do so. Tonight's final honoree is Todd Sheridan, class of 2010. Todd took to the pitch for Stevens during a time in which the Ducks were in the midst of unprecedented success. The men's soccer program reached the postseason in each of Todd's 4 seasons in Hoboken, culminating with a national championship appearance in 2008. The 4-year stretch was a key component of the Ducks' run of 13 consecutive conference championships and postseason appearances, which bridged the program's migration from the Skyline to the Empire 8. Over their 4 seasons together, Todd's class was one of the most productive in program history, posting a remarkable 71, 8, and 12 record, including a sterling 24, 2, and 2 mark in conference play. The team's 18-0-3 campaign in 2006 was the program's first season without a defeat since 1940. Individually, Todd finished his career with 37 goals and 6 assists over 81 matches, including 7 goals in the NCAA tournament. A first-team All-Empire 8 conference selection in 2008, Todd remains ranked among the Ducks' all-time top 10 in both career goals and points, and co-holds the team record for goals in a match with 4, which was achieved in 2006. A member of the South Jersey Soccer Hall of Fame, Todd was equally as successful as a high school player, earning the Daily Journal's Player of the Year award and a pair of New Jersey State championships while playing for St. Augustine Prep. Todd actually holds the unique and rare feat of concluding his collegiate career with a goal on his final college shot. Todd was recognized with the Ravichet Award as the best male student athlete who combines academic and athletic excellence with an ability to lead both in the classroom and in competition. He was also the recipient of the Joel Crouch Award, which goes to a member of the senior class who most contributed to the soccer program during their 4 years at Stevens. Todd's former coach, Tim O'Donohue, who was unable to join us here in Hoboken this evening, wanted to share a few words about Todd. Todd Sheridan was one of the most important players to suit up for Stevens during my time as head coach. I cannot adequately put into words what he meant to our program and to our team. The first thing about Todd as a player was his speed. He could flat out run, and he could run forever. The second thing was how competitive he was. He was a relentless warrior on the field, but what made Todd special was his ability to finish and score from any angle. But he also scored in big games. His goal at RPI in the first round of the 2008 NCAA tournament was the catalyst for our run to the NCAA Division III championship match. More than that, Todd was a great leader and led by example. He never stopped working, and he never backed down. That was how we took that next step as a program. Todd was the heart and soul of our team and of our program. We never lost an NCAA game in Todd's 4 years. We were knocked out on penalties each season. Our 4-year run was the best run of any Stevens soccer team in history, and it will be difficult to be repeated, and Todd drove those teams. I think of him every day. I'm sorry I could not make the ceremony this evening. Todd is a part of me and everyone that ever played with him or met him. On a more personal level, there was a game his first year at Stevens where Todd didn't start. We played one striker this particular game, and our other striker, Terrence Johnson, was also exceptional. I told Todd, and he was okay with it. Whatever you need, coach. I subbed him in, and the score was 0-0, I believe. 0-0, right, coach? Is that the right? Okay. Todd then scored 4 goals in just the first half. I've still never seen one like his 4th. On the touchline, he saw that the goalkeeper was out, and he roped one upper 90 from about 40 yards out. As he walked past me at halftime, Todd just smiled and kind of gave me a mischievous look. I'm not sure if I ever took him out of the game for the rest of his career. Sadly, Todd passed away in August of 2020, and a Pinnacle Scholarship has been established in his memory. Accepting the Hall of Fame plaque on behalf of their son Todd, please welcome to the stage Betty and Jack Sheridan. Also, please welcome back to the stage Russ Rogers, who will join Dominic Savino to share stories about one of the best soccer players in school history, Hall of Famer Todd Sheridan.
What do you got right here?
This is the penny he wore the weekend that they were in the NCAA championship.
Wow.
He scored the first goal.
Yeah.
And never forget that.
That's outstanding.
Russ, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to
So
sit?
can I just say a few words?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Of course, because Betty has the mic. Thank you. So I just really want to share and thank Stevens. Such a strong culture, and that really created our son Todd as he graduated. So the story goes like this. From high school, always wanting to be an engineering student and following in his father's footsteps and his uncle's footsteps, who both graduated from Stevens. Todd didn't know that. He calls me to the basement. Hey, Mom, have you ever heard of this school named Stevens? They're interested in me in playing soccer. And so the tradition continued. And honestly, the culture and the support and the leadership from our coach on the soccer fields. And I'm so pleased to see soccer up here as well. So be proud of Stevens. It's really a rich culture, and we so much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. Thanks, Jack. Thanks for coming up here, Russ. I appreciate it.
I just want to try to do the most justice I can for a very special student athlete.
Yeah. What described for me, I mean, as you mentioned during your opening remarks, you've been at Stevens for quite a while, and so you had a front row seat to watch Todd play. Tell me about this moment for you right now, as the athletic director who got to watch him on the field.
Well, it's great to see his family here. I mean, I got to know the Sheridans back when Todd was a first-year student, and Jack sat in the same seat every game. You can go, you can see his name on it. His name's on that seat, and it was just, it feels like a blur over that time, but it was so much fun. So much fun watching him play. There's so many things in my mind that stick out to this day, plays that he made for us. And it's, you know, he's not here physically, but he's with us. He's here. He's watching what's going on. He's probably got that same kind of smile on his face that OD spoke about.
After scoring 4 goals and saying, you can leave me in the match. Charles mentioned the record that Todd's men's soccer teams had. 71, 8, and 12. That's pretty good. 85% winning percentage. 3 trips to the Sweet 16, and Todd led them to the 2008 National Championship game. How good were those teams?
They were really good. I can't tell you for sure that the team that soccer is such a crazy sport. The team that made the national final was exceptional, but the team when Todd was a sophomore, we were lost out to NYU in penalty kicks that year. He scored the tying goal in that game. Played it at NJIT. That's a team that we played at University of Rochester in the round prior to we were eliminated, and that Rochester is a fantastic program, and I can't remember the exact score. It was 4 or 5 goals we put up and against a team like that, and so they were exceptional. And again, from year to year, which team would be the best or who would be, so hard to say. You know, it's just how things kind of fell, and that team that got to the national final was obviously special for a lot of reasons.
He was really clutch, too. You know, I put together a list, and it's like nearly a quarter of the sheet of all the clutch goals that he had and just the ones that I could parse out. The game winner in his first ever NCAA tournament game as a freshman. first round in 08. 89th minute scores the game winner in a 1-0 win. So we're not talking about a 5-4 game, too. The first goal of the match in the Final Four in 2008 that really set off a big night of scoring. Do any of his goals stick out to you?
I think that, that goal against RPI in the 89th minute, it was a cold, late fall weekend in November. We were up in Boston playing at Babson College. Babson was the host. They got eliminated in the first game by Rhode Island College. We're playing RPI. Now, RPI, as many of you know, is a school we compete with for student athletes. We recruit head-to-head against them quite a bit. So whenever we play, and we don't play them a ton, but when we play them in something, I think there's an extra, it's a little bit extra special. And that's a game that I felt like this is going to PKs, and then it's anybody's guess. But the thing about Todd was he figured out a way. And he figured out a way in that game to put one in the net, and that some things fell our way, like a couple of teams lost that made it possible for us to host that next weekend. And I said to myself, we got a real chance to go to the Final Four, but he got us there. He got us there with that goal and that grit and that will that he had. To myself, he was a winning player. And I think that's kind of consistent across the board with all the folks that you've talked to tonight. But sure. He had a way about him that he would put the team on his shoulders when he needed to. As talented as they were, he was the guy that at some points would say, I'm going to get this done. Did it against RPI, did it against NYU, did it against Amherst, on and on.
Yeah, we heard a story, too, about, sort of told a little bit about how Todd was off the field. It sort of led on a little bit about his humor. He certainly knew it when he had scored 4. I know he was a driven guy, a charismatic guy. You got to interact with him off the field, too. You're just not just on the field. What was he like off the field?
He was just, very steady. I think what Charles referenced, he led by example. That's really a lot of what he did. He always had a smile on his face. But he was, again, someone that balanced the athletics and the academics very, very well. Set a great example, was a great leader for his teammates. Kept his demeanor about him very well. He didn't seem to get rattled. He was steady and consistent, and you knew what you were going to get from him each time. And again, same thing. You see him walking around campus. Hi, how you doing, Mr. Roger? It was just that. There's a reference at the start. Just you take such pride in having someone like that represent your institution and being able to just be a part of them and see their career. I've been blessed.
Yeah, I hear so much about Todd, and I want to close with this. We've talked about his success on the field. He was a Dean's List student. He was a captain of the team. There's now a scholarship in the university in his honor. Can you sum up Todd's legacy, Todd's impact on Stevens Institute of Technology?
I think, and if President Favard was up here, I think he would say the same thing. He is the kind of person that we want representing Stevens, right? If Stevens is doing its mission and doing it well, Todd Sheridan is, just the ideal student athlete to come out of here. And you learn a lot when you go to college, right? And he did. But I think the cool thing was he gave back more than what he learned, and we all learned from him. And as I said, his family's here, he's here, and could not be more proud to be able to be up here and represent OD, represent Todd, represent his family to talk about him tonight.
Well, Russ, we appreciate you coming up here for a few minutes to remember Todd and share some good stories about his time on and off the field, too. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Let's also give one final round of applause for tonight's question and answer moderator, Mr. Dominic Savino. Before we conclude this evening's ceremony, I wouldn't be the professional that I am if I didn't give you a reminder that we have 4 home games on campus tomorrow. Women's volleyball hosts the 4-team tournament in Canavan Arena. The Ducks play at 10, Ducks play at 4. which also gives you time to head over to the DeBon Athletic Complex to see field hockey at 1. And the aforementioned men's soccer at 4 o'clock. Both games very important for conference and regional standings. And that will officially conclude tonight's ceremony. We thank everyone for coming out to support all of our inductees and honorees. We hope that you've enjoyed tonight's ceremony, and we hope that everyone enjoys everything associated with the inaugural Fall Festival. And a final reminder that photos will be available for anyone who wants to take them over by the backdrop. And we actually have one final call for all of the honorees to come back up on stage first. Mike, do you want them on stage or do you want them at the back? Let's have all the honorees come up on stage. We're going to do a group photo, please.